Alright fellas, now what I think is potentially one of the most packed cards we have ever seen has just dropped. It brought me out of my content making slumber as it's a card as a boxing fan that you just can't ignore. Now earlier today, Turki Al-Sheikh revealed this card out the blue and it has some absolute heaters on it. It includes fighters such as Bivol, Beterbiev, Shakur Stevenson, Dubois, Ortiz Jr, and so many more. So I want to talk about all the matchups just announced and why exactly is this card being dubbed by so many as one of the greatest cards ever. But just before that, if you love everything boxing, you found yourself in the right place. My name is Cloystar and I make boxing videos on everything important that you need to know. So to stay informed, make sure to subscribe. Now straight off the bat, I don't think we've seen a card with so many fights which on their own could be considered as main eventers. The Saudis are known for putting on packed cards and big events. The closest we got to a card similar to this was the Day of Reckoning card. Although this event featured a ton of great names, all the fights seemed pretty one-sided, and it was a card that was really just there to set up Joshua v Wilder. Yet of course Parker upset the show and we never saw that happen. But what set this upcoming card that was just announced from the previous card is how almost every fight is a 50-50 matchup, which is exactly what you want. The crown jewel of this card is of course the rematch between Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. This was one of the best bouts of the year, and after such a divisive conclusion, the rematch is set to be a spectacle. When I woke up and saw this rematch being announced, I was pretty surprised. I didn't think that this fight was gonna happen anytime soon. Mainly down to the IBF ordering Beterbiev to fight his mandatory. Although an exemption must have been made as we see the undisputed title once again on the line. This matchup will be fascinating to see. Previously they both put up almost the perfect fight. Will they both be able to recreate their performances, as well as will either of them come with a dramatically improved game plan which might have the key to stop the other? Either way, this will be destined to be one of the biggest and best matchups of the upcoming year. If Beterbiev wins, he solidifies himself as the man at light heavyweight, and opens the door for bigger matchups in the future. While if Bivol wins, it might force a trilogy, which I think no one would be disappointed to see. With this announcement, if it was just Beterbiev, Bivol 2 and an average undercard, I don't think anyone would be upset. But they didn't just stop there. The co-main, we see the return of Dynamite Daniel Dubois facing off against Joseph Parker. Now this fight might not appeal to the absolute casual, but it's going to be a war. You have Dubois, who is coming off his spectacular win against Anthony Joshua, and Parker, who is coming off upset wins against Wilder and Big Bang Zhang. Joshua seems to have avoided the Dubois rematch, and I'll get into that shortly, but it's opened the door up for this fight to happen. An absolutely 50-50 fight. Both of these fighters you really just can't write off, both building back their careers after significant losses to where they're both fighting for a world title belt. The winner of this bout will have many opportunities at their feet and only time will tell. Following this, the next fight we finally have the return of Shakur Stevenson, and for once this is a Shakur fight I actually want to watch. This being against the talented prospect Floyd Schofield. This is two young talented fighters facing off, something we rarely see. Props to the Schofield camp for actually taking the fight, but I 100% know that bag was worth it. I think Stevenson was willing to take this fight basically off the back of Schofield's last performance, which really wasn't anything special. Although I think Stevenson is definitely more skilled, Schofield is one of the toughest competitors we've ever seen him face, and it's destined to be a pretty interesting fight. The next fight is another world title match for the WBC World Middleweight belt, in a matchup I would dub Battle of the Ducks. Both Carlos Adames and Shiraz have ducked Janibek to fight each other. Both camps see each other as the easier fight. In Adames's case, Shiraz is more green, and in Shiraz's case, Adames has shown weaker performances compared to Janibek. Either way, I want to see the winner versus Janibek, who at the moment is sitting as the boogeyman in the division. But we're not done, the fights keep coming. The fight after this is an interesting one. We have Ortiz Jr facing off against Madrimov. Now, Madrimov is already scheduled to fight this month, and they're so confident he will win that they have already scheduled his next fight. This fight will be a fascinating stylistic matchup. Madrimov, the slick technical boxer, versus the head-down brawler in Ortiz Jr. I love this fight. It's just another matchup which shows how the super welterweight division is one of the hottest divisions in boxing. Now the final bout I want to mention is Big Bang Zhang making his return against Kabayel. This fight off the rip to the casual fan wouldn't seem too exciting, yet this fight is a banger and the consequences of the result is incredibly interesting. Now Kabayel has flown under the radar and is ranked within the top 5 in all the ranking bodies, and as high as number 2 with the WBC. The fight against Zhang will be his toughest fight to date, and it will be a true reflection of just how good he truly is. Now this bout is for the WBC interim heavyweight title, and the rumour on the street that I've heard is that the winner will end up against Anthony Joshua. You might be hearing that going, what? Why is Joshua already getting a shot at a guy who holds an interim title, which might end up being a world title? But simply, it's money. If Usyk wins later this month and vacates his titles to move back down to cruiserweight, this could set up the winner of the interim title versus Joshua for a world title. At the end of the day, that's what the sanctioning bodies want. Joshua as a world champion again. His fights bring the biggest sanctioning fees, and as long as he's not completely washed, they'll put him above the others to give him world title attempts. But anyway, that's all future hypotheticals. What we have now with this matchup will be fireworks. This card is simply packed. This will go down easily as one of the more packed cards in recent history. And Turkey already said this card will only be £20 in the UK and only 26 USD for the rest of the world, which is a breath of fresh air compared to the $60, $70, $80 pay-per-views we're used to. Simply, I love the look of this card, and if it happens, it will be great for the sport. But I'll bring you more about this card the closer we get to February 22nd. But for the moment, I want to hear what you think about this card. Do you think that this card is as great as everyone's saying? And what bout are you looking forward to the most on this card? If you did enjoy this video though, please consider liking and subscribing. But thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.